G'day there, ladies and gents of the internet. I am the Braveheart Aussie and welcome to a journey in world building. This is the third and final episode of our setting series for the tidally locked world of Ruscon. And as is customary in each of our setting deep dive series, this episode will explore the terrors that plague the people. Now, we've already covered off on a diverse range of challenges that beset the people of Ruscon, including major weather events, corrupt governance, oligarchic hyper-capitalist systems, and of course associated worker oppression, underpayment, threats, and reprisals. We've also explored the dangers of some of the life of the world, the macroalgae herds and their rampaging across the swamp and marsh-like lands of the Terminator region. This has already been proven to be a critical threat in one of our earlier lore episodes. However, this time I want to focus on the effects of the lack of the day-night cycle of the planet, since this was always the fundamental element of the planet's uniqueness amongst the diaspora settings that we've explored to date. So let's explore the effects and impacts of the Ruscon Torpor. The impacts of the loss of the day-night cycle has been the subject of international research, be it associated with far northern polar region Russian, European or Canadian communities where winter daylight can be limited to as little as 1 or 2 hours a day, or research into the effects of a 24-hour daytime in the never-setting sun region of Antarctic research stations near the South Pole. In each case, the lack of a normalized day-night cycle disrupts the circadian rhythm of a person, or a creature in the case of an animal or an insect that have been studied, which can result in a deterioration in health and well-being. Such a deterioration can impact things like appetite, physical activity and energy levels, stress, or even bodily temperature control, all of which can in turn further detrimentally impact circadian rhythms, creating something of a negative feedback loop or spiral, ultimately resulting in the patient entering a state of delirium. Taking this to the extreme, in which the residents of Ruscon live their entire lives under the never-setting red star, the effects of the lack of a day-night cycle and tidally locked world has led to what is referred to as the Ruscon Torpor. The torpor is a form of extreme, rapid and sudden breakdown of a person's circadian rhythms. There is no exact known cause or trigger for it, and for some residents on Ruscon, they'll never experience a torpor episode. However, for most, the torpor episode is linked to overwork, heightened mental stress, poor access to food, or a combination of these, which combine with the lack of day-night cycle to lead to a decay in the person's circadian rhythm. Common symptoms of a torpor episode include chronic and extended fatigue, extreme tiredness and lethargy, sleep disturbances and insomnia, extreme and sometimes violent mood swings, and impaired cognitive function. Whilst treatments through steroids and other stimulants can help sufferers manage milder episodes, once an episode is experienced, the chances of a patient experiencing further and increasingly more extreme episodes in the future increases greatly. This can result in a cascading collapse of an individual's socio-economic status, health and well-being. While short episodes are dealt with by factory and other employers by providing the worker with unpaid absences from work, frequent or extended episodes is the most common reason for a person and their family being sent down into the slums that surround the base of the metropoles. This often removes a person from the artificially imposed day-night cycles of the metropole interiors themselves, which can see episodes actually extend or worsen once they're in the slums. While a patient might recover physically, the impact of even a moderately lengthy torpor episode can be socio-economically devastating. However, in the most extreme cases, the onset of the Ruscon Torpor can see an individual's circadian rhythms become so altered and corrupted that they enter a state of full delirium. This is a state with which the torpor is most associated amongst the wider diaspora. Extreme torpor cases include repeated sufferers, but even those experiencing it for the first time and their first initial episode can experience a fully altered state of consciousness. Sufferers begin with a loss of short-term memory and general confusion about their whereabouts, intentions and objectives, and even their own personal identity and the identities of those around them. This can quickly morph into bouts of delusion and hallucination, aggression and violent acts, and finally full psychological disassociation from reality. The devolving of a person's psyche is typically incurable, and once delirium sets in, a patient is usually dead within a month, sooner if they are particularly violent. This violence and its association with mental deterioration and collapse has led many to draw parallels between Ruscon Torpor and that of the Malady, resulting in some referring to the torpor as the Sleepless Malady or the mini Malady. A secondary consequence of the torpor is a decrease in and suppression of the person's immune system, making them more susceptible to infections or infestations, particularly by the countless varieties of airborne spores that fill the circulating air of the planet. While other immunologically compromised individuals can become infected, spore infestations are most commonly associated with torpor sufferers, to the point where the two have now become synonymous with each other. There are over a dozen known terminally or permanently debilitating spore-related infections, or plagues, for which there is no cure. There is the dread lung, in which spores of a small ground-spreading algae infest the lungs, take hold in the walls, and begin to grow and spread until the person is unable to breathe and physically suffocates within their own body. There is the crimson patch, in which a cut or a wound becomes infected by a swamped grass analog spore, in which the spore sprouts into long tendrils from the wound and then starts to spread across the body, tearing at the skin. This typically sickly green grass takes on more of a crimson colour because of the victim's red blood, hence the name. And then there's also the scale creep, in which a wind-borne creature's spore becomes embedded in a person's skin and kills the relevant skin cells and surrounding tissues. This turns into a rough, hardened grey exoskin, which then slowly spreads across and engulfs the entire body, resulting in death. These afflictions are uncommon among metropolitan residents and even those within larger, more organised slums. However, those living out in the wilds, including the banished and the exiled, are much greater risk of becoming infested. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is I think where we are going to leave it today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this combination of the psychological and physiological conditions caused by the lack of a day-night cycle on the planet, with the addition of the spore plagues and infestations. This was a fun setting to explore in such detail, and I feel like between the 3 episodes, we've actually crafted one of the most comprehensively unique settings to date in the Dark Diaspora that isn't just linked to one particular hook or feature. We have one more lore video linked to this episode today, which is actually episode 40 of our lore series here in the Dark Diaspora world building project, after which we're going to be doing another threat video. I got an amazing response from the last threat video on the necrophage, so I'll be looking to build upon the threat concepts more before we launch into another setting. If you enjoyed this world building video, make sure you go and hit that like button, comment and subscribe. And if you'd like to be part of the community, I'll be relaunching my Discord server shortly, so keep an eye out for an announcement on the communities page on my YouTube channel shortly. But that is it for today. Thank you so much. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and may the journey continue.